Hi, everybody, and welcome today to the Youth Pledge for Employers Virtual Careers Fair. And we're really delighted to have Harriet Mazzotta talking to us about construction and SCL interiors. So I will hand over to you to take us forward. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Hi everyone. My name is Harriet and I'm calling from SCL Interiors, representing the construction industry this morning. And I've got a little bit of a slideshow to show you, just to sort of talk about different areas of our business, explain what we do, and see how you could potentially fit in. So as I mentioned, it is a construction business, but I want to sort of go into what we actually do, because a lot of people, when they think of construction, they think of it being electricians, plumbing, or building work. But at SCL, it's a little bit different. So with SCL, we have, oh, sorry, 2 seconds. So we've got a well-established team of probably about 100 years combined of different various contracts managers, supervisors and directors who have sort of progressed from a family-run business and turned it into a 20 million turnover. Specialising in trades such as the steel frame systems, we've got stud partitioning, wall linings, ceiling work and dry lining. So for those who are not familiar with those types of construction work, it's basically like an alternative to your standard block and brickwork. It's only been around for around sort of 10-15 years, and a lot of contractors have sort of started going this way for various different reasons. It's cheaper, it's quicker, it's more sustainable, and a lot of people don't really know about those trades unless they're sort of chucked in and like get in the deep end about those areas. So if you have a chance to look on our website, we've got lots of different sort of portfolios where we have undertaken those various different types of work. And we also work within a very big variety of different sectors. This can range from anything to do with commercial buildings, schools and universities, healthcare, leisure, retail, and more recently, a lot of student accommodation. Our packages can sort of vary from around anything up to about £10,000 all the way up to maybe 6 to 10 million. So I'm just going to sort of go into the slide now. So now that's a bit of background about the company. This is a blank version of our company organogram. So obviously the names are blank because of GDPR purposes, but as you can see, it's a small business which has turned into a big sort of well-known reputable company. And we've got sort of opportunities which vary all the way across from health and safety, surveying, estimating, which are classed as your commercial team, and then we've got our business administration all the way right down to our site guys. So if we was to start talking about this from the left side, which is your estimating, and then go forward, I can sort of tell you a little bit about what I do as well. Most businesses would normally have one managing director, but you can also have multiple. The reason why our business has two is because it was originally a family-run business. So the second managing director sort of acts more of a chairman and a step back, so that the other managing director can sort of progress into that role. In terms of estimating and surveying, so for those who are sort of unaware of what an estimator is, they are the guys that are responsible for quotations and inquiries and tenders coming in. And they are the people who are responsible for pricing those up and deciding if that quotation is something that the business would like to take on. And as you can see, we've got our estimating director, a senior estimator, and then like an administrator to help support that team. In the event that a quotation is accepted for the business, it would then go over to the surveying team, which is a little bit further on in the organogram, but you can see we've got a senior quantity surveyor, an assistant quantity surveyor, and an apprentice. The surveying guys are more in charge of sort of the day-to-day running of the project. They would sort of set your budget, look after your variations, and query any sort of problems or issues that the client may have once the job has been won. But ultimately, once the job has been handed over to surveying, the estimating team wouldn't really have anything else to do with that project. So it then gets handed over to surveying, who see the job through from start to finish. And then in between that, the surveying team will also work with the contracts team. So going back over to the left-hand side, and in our business currently, we've got around 6 contracts managers, and they have site supervisors and project managers reporting into them. And a contracts manager will oversee the project. And more often than not, a contracts manager would have worked their way to that position, probably from a fixer or a labourer. And they've just sort of progressed all the way through from being a skilled tradesman to a supervisor, and then obviously into a contracts manager position. These are the guys that sort of control their labour. They do liaise with estimating and surveying, but these are also the guys that are the face of the business, because they are responsible for building the relationships and winning more work. And it sort of all goes in hand. And they're also a big part of their role is just being responsible for health and safety. And then going back over to the right-hand side, we've got our health and safety and HR. So I fall into the HR and compliance sector, and I'm responsible for a lot of people issues, recruitment, training, and that's why I'm on this call today, because a lot of you will sort of come through me for like CVs and recruitment, and just little talks for different variety of schools and colleges. And the compliance role, which I'll go into in a little bit more detail, also sits in there, but it's a role with many sort of different hats. And there is no sort of HR that's the same in any type of business. It all depends on sort of what industry you work for, but generally you sort of deal with people a lot of the time. We have in our business decided to use external consultants for our health and safety, because we don't have anyone in-house that's trained. It may be something that we are sort of looking to do in the future, but currently our external safety advisors are CNC Consulting, and they are responsible for arranging site visits, investigating any accidents that may happen on site, and providing reports to our contracts managers and operational staff, and giving feedback, whilst also obviously just looking after health and safety for the business. And then just in the middle, we've got sort of all the office sort of roles. So our accounts team are obviously very important, because our subcontractors and our staff need paying. Invoices and suppliers also need paying. And then we've got our business development manager, who sort of works with all different departments, along with our receptionist and general accounts team. And then, as you can see in the purple, we've got all of our site guys. So there's tons and tons of opportunities, not just within SCL, but the construction industry as a whole. It just depends on sort of what you were looking for. And in our business, we are always looking to recruit. So although we don't have any sort of open vacancies in this organogram at the moment, we sort of look to take on anyone all throughout the year, depending on the person, what the business needs are, and where you would feel yourself fitting in. In more recent times, we've taken on quite a few apprentices in the actual construction industry, where people have been looking to work as a tradesman and then developed into site supervisors. We've taken on quite a lot of students from Wisbech College over the last sort of 4 to 5 years. We do actually do a presentation with them every year. And some of those guys have sort of evolved from being that labourer and foreman, and are now one of our part of our management team. And it just sort of depends if you want to learn and work for a business that's willing to sort of help support with on the job training, and also paying for training as well, because something that we do as a business is we make sure that all of our guys are fully competent with a CSCS card, your health and safety awareness courses, and your site management and any other sort of additional client requests. So we pay for all of our training up front, and we invest in our people, if that's on the construction side. And we do also offer traineeships and apprenticeships. So if, like, for example, the construction role isn't typically for you and you were interested in more of an office role, then again, that can sort of be looked at. We've recently just helped someone complete their business administration MVQ who sits in the accounts department. Just because this person is in the accounts department doesn't mean that they didn't want to broaden their knowledge and go into a bit of HR, finance and accounting. So that is another opportunity. And as I said to you at the very beginning of this organogram, we don't actually have any internal health and safety advisors. So that is something that we could also look to develop. If you did want any sort of any more information on any specific role, then you can contact me at the end of this and I can sort of send you over what a general job description would look like if you're not too sure of, or if you've got any questions on a specific role. And here what I've done for you is I've just attached like 2 CVs of people who have joined us as teenagers and sort of just left the industry and are still with us today. So Neil Scott, for example, he's been in the construction industry for 38 years, who started his career as an apprentice joiner. He's been with us for 15 years as a contracts manager, and he's one of our sort of contracts managers based in the East Anglia area, and he's worked on projects and overseen them in value anything from around 300,000 all the way up to 12 million. And then obviously we've just got some of his project experience there, but that's just an example of someone who has, decided to join the industry and stay within the industry and has done really well for themselves. And then I've also attached a sample CV of someone who's worked on the commercial team, just to sort of compare a construction individual with someone who's worked in the office. So Peter has also worked in the industry for 27 years when he left school in 1993. Pete's got a bit of different experience because he's worked for tier 1 main contractors as well as subcontractors, but he now works for us as one of our senior quantity surveyors, and he's worked on projects anything from around 10 to 20 million, and some of his portfolio and experience in the following sectors are also listed here. And the good thing about construction is once you start off in a different type of sector, you can move around. So you don't just have to stay in one sort of project or one sort of sector, because all of our guys have got experience in commercial, offices, education, healthcare, leisure, you name it, they've sort of done it. It's a very transferable industry, and once you sort of get your foot in the door with construction, you will find that a lot of people will be interested in you more than ever, especially with the skill shortage which is currently going on in the industry. And then just sort of moving on to another one of our slides here, it just sort of lets people know that we do take people on a permanent basis, not just subcontractors, but all of our workforce is currently 100 unique individuals who are employed with us on a permanent basis, and they support all across East Anglia, London, Norfolk, Suffolk and Cambridge areas. So just because our head office is based in Downham Market, it doesn't mean that you'd be based there. No day is ever the same. The advantage of you being a permanent employee of ours is that you get to move around and present yourself with a different sort of option of challenges each and every day. A lot of our processes are audited and looked after by the quality control systems that we have in place. So I'm not expecting you to sort of know much about the compliance side of the business, but I did say that I would come back to it. So we have a management system in place which is for our ISOs, and again, compliance is another role that you could fit into the business, but it just basically means that a lot of our processes and procedures, they have to conform to this standard. And a lot of main contractors probably won't even touch you if you don't have this accreditation in place. It just means, like, as a business, that we have to invest in different sort of systems, and the one that we've chosen to go with is Builderstorm, and it just allows us to sort of communicate as a team commercially as well as construction, and have a platform ready so that anything that is sort of recorded and shared with our site checks people can sort of approve and comment on things with the click of a button now. So it's not just a case of paperwork or filing. And the idea of having a quality control system in place is so that if there are any non-conformances, then it's highlighted to the management and the operatives, and then any sort of issues that are brought up through either health and safety or quality inspections, it's briefed through toolbox talks. And there's just some photos of our quality standards and, you know, some of the guys working there. And same again there. But again, you know, we've got a lot more information on our website, a lot of case studies and projects that you can sort of look at. In terms of our supply chain, so, you know, these are just some of the manufacturers that we sort of work with, including Metsec, EOS, British Gypsum, Etex, Ecofon. All of these are independent companies, but again, you know, you might decide that you may want to join a manufacturer first before considering a role in the construction industry, or you may have thought, oh, actually, I might go into the procurement or supply chain side of things after joining construction. So a lot of the supply chains comes down to making sure that all quality products are being used correctly, and all of these brands are widely available, which will have inspections and auditing distributors. Just some more bits on compliance, really, if you were sort of interested in that type of role. And these are just some of the compliance third-party accreditations that we have to hold as a business. Sometimes we will also get contractors who will ask us to get a new one just to work with them on one project, which is sometimes a little bit of a pain, but it sort of comes with the role. But you'll find that once you've done a couple of them, they're all pretty much the same standard, looking for the same things. So as you can see here, we've got quality, environmental, and then we've obviously got our CNC health and safety inspections popping up again.
Harriet, that is brilliant. I had a couple of things I wanted to ask you, if that's okay. Did you want to finish off with your social value before I jump in?
Yeah, that's fine. And I'll just sort of finish off with social value and practice, because this is sort of a new thing for the construction industry. We are sort of monitored a lot by our social value, and these are just some of the things that we sort of get involved with. So, for example, we do pay the living wage. We do look to sort of employ ex-offenders and diversity and inclusion. As you can see, we take pride in our local spend and do work experience placements, and these are just all sort of the things that we get involved with. And again, you know, that could even be a role in the future, someone looking after social value full time.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Wow, look at those buildings. That's amazing. I was just really interested to know, Harry, because obviously, like you said, there's this sort of big skills shortage for construction. What
Yes.
do you look for when you're sort of looking at applications to your organisation? What sort of tips could you give young people? And I was sort of thinking whether or not we could look at applications, and then sort of for interviewing, what sort of tips would you give people trying to get to the construction industry?
I think it helps with having a bit of curiosity and interest in working for the industry as a whole, and having your options open, because, as I said, a lot of people, when they think of construction, they think it is just electricians, plumbing and building work. If
Yeah,
you're open to
true.
options and open to other trades, then, you know, it can do wonders. I mean, we've had people start on labouring roles for about £80 a day who are now on, you know, sort of salary 60, 70 grand a year,
Wow,
all
that's
because they
amazing
stuck with it.
progression. Yeah. Oh, that is fascinating. So what would you look for on a sort of good application from somebody? What would you
Someone who's just sort of keen and wants to learn and is willing to sort of give the industry a try, really. There is no set portfolio of a type of person. I guess
Yeah,
if you're going to look at an office role, you would need to either have like a financy qualification or a background or an interest.
yeah.
But we don't really have a set like profile.
Oh, that's great. So nothing in particular in terms of qualifications that you would necessarily look for
No,
straight off
because
the bat?
something that SCL are quite good at doing is they will help support people and make sure they've got the CSCS card in place and the health and safety awareness course. That's not a rule that we set, that's the industry as a whole. So no one would be allowed on site without having those two things. But if someone was sort of willing to give the industry a try, then we do pay for courses like that and get people started.
And in terms of sort of interviews, I mean, you must have done a lot in your time, in your role. What sort of interview tips would you give young people? Because often it feels quite terrifying, doesn't it, going for an interview?
Yeah, I would say just be yourself and just make sure you turn up, because especially within the Norfolk surrounding areas, it's very um, spread out, and you may be asked to come to the office instead of a site. So just be yourself and just go for it, really, and just be honest.
Brilliant. And in terms of what do you think sort of are the biggest challenges in terms of if you work in construction?
What, because of recent events or just
No,
like
just generally,
skills?
you know, what sort of challenges do you think people face that they sort of have to overcome?
I think you sort of need to get to grips with the fact that it can be messy as a job,
Yeah,
and you have to sort of meet that expectation at the beginning. And it is, it can be long hours, and it can be exhausting, but the rewards are worth it if you do want a career. It's one of those hidden treasures, because I suppose you wouldn't sort of leave school and go, oh, I want to be this or I want to be that. It's usually the industry that you fall into that you actually find yourself enjoying the most.
oh, that is absolutely brilliant. And I think just you know, and in terms of sort of so really we're saying the sort of advice that we give people is you know, sort of show that curiosity, learn about it, because I know one of the challenges for young people is actually coming by work experience. Obviously you're offering opportunities for that potentially as well. um, is there anything else that people could do to sort of show you that they're kind of work ready?
Yeah, I suppose even though we do support people with a CSCS card, it would be, I suppose, a good commitment eye opener if you already had a CSCS card, or if you were willing to get one before you started.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that we wouldn't support you if you didn't have one. It just shows, I'm ready, here's my card, let's go.
Yeah. Oh, that is brilliant. And what do you think, just finally, before we go to our next speaker, what do you think are the three sort of most essential characteristics for people being successful in construction? I know that's like a bit of a hard question, but what sort of personality characteristics have you seen kind of make people successful in your industry?
I think you have to be very versatile
Yeah,
and sort of work with a variety of different people, because no day is ever the same, and you will find people that you like to work with more, and you will find people that you dislike. But at the end of the day, I suppose that's with any job.
yeah.
Just have to sort of work as a team. And oh God, it is a really hard question, isn't it?
That is
A
brilliant.
good work ethic.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's really helpful. Thank you. So that sort of being versatile, being able to work with different people and having that sort of strong work ethic to show your
Yes.
commitment. Oh, that is brilliant. Harriet, thank you so much for your time. That's been absolutely fascinating talking to you. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody explain so clearly how all the different roles in construction fit together like that. So that was so useful. Thank you ever so much.